subhanahu wa ta'ala with absolutely no distraction or worry. And I remember I used to be in a block with one of these prisoners from Yemen. And he said to me, we were in a solitary confinement cell, so we could see one another, but we couldn't come out of these cells. And he said to me something amazing. He said, I'm going to argue and fight with these guards today. I said, why? He said, I want them to take me to the other end of the block so I'm just by myself for i'tikaf. I said, Akhi, why you want to do that, man? We've been in i'tikaf for 3 years. We've been in i'tikaf for 3 years. He said, yeah, I know, but I need to spend some extra time alone. Solitary within solitary. And of course, I know why he was doing that. Because there is a sense that when everything, and I mean everything, not even the prisons here, there's no comparison. When you're in solitary, you're in solitary. There is nothing there for you. No other human being, no other prisoner, nothing. It's just you and your Lord. And you can think, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alone in Al-Hira, in the Ghar, before the Quran came to him. And in a state of meditation, of pure meditation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that began the revelation. It was so powerful that when he returned home, he said to his wife, Khadija radiallahu anha, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, cover me, cover me. He was afraid. He was shocked. It was that powerful. So being alone in meditation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something we rarely ever get in this life. Very rarely. But there is a time also that you can do it. I would encourage you all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن القرآن الفجر كان مشهودا. Establish your prayer from the midday to late at night. غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر, and recite your Quran at Fajr, because that's another time where you will find a great deal of solitude, if you want, even alone in your own house. إن القرآن الفجر كان مشهودا. That the Quran at the time of Fajr is a witness for you. It's a witness for you. So this is a time for all of us, inshallah. Remember, standing and reciting the Quran, where there's great reward for standing and reciting the Quran. That's why the hadith is من قام في رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Whoever stood in Ramadan. What do you do when you're standing in Ramadan? Recite the Quran, isn't it? You recite the Quran. There's greater reward in standing and reciting the Quran than there is sitting. Though there is a reward in it. And we are from the Ummah who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says of them, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. That they are the ones who stand, who remember Allah standing and sitting down and on their sides. وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And they contemplate on the creation of the heavens and the earth. رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. Oh Allah, and they come to the conclusion at the end of this, oh Allah, you didn't create this batil as a void, as something that's false. Subhanak. In fact, praise be to you, Ya Allah. فَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And the result, the cumulative result of all of that thought process is that you say, oh Allah, save me from the hellfire. Save us from the hellfire. Indeed, that's all what we want. We want to be saved from the hellfire. We want the Quran to be for us a shaheed, to be a witness for us on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So, the Quran, we want it to be for us a witness on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And what greater witness could there be than the very speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What greater witness for us could there be than that? We have all kinds of emotions, and I can feel my emotions when I think of all the abuses that we hear that they did against the Quran. And if it was left up to me, I would probably have done things that later I would have regretted. But I know the more they try to, يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون, that they wish to extinguish the light of Allah from their mouths. And that's what they've tried from the beginning up until now. We see all the time. They don't want the Quran and its verses and its meanings and its teachings and its rulings and its sharia and its jihad and its khilafah and its ummah and its rahmah and its maghfirah and its rights of neighbors, its rights of Muslims, its rights of non-Muslims. They don't want all of this to be discussed because they don't want this as a way of life, as an alternative way of life for anyone or anywhere else. But the Quran is an amazing thing. لا شرقية ولا غربية. Neither east nor west. Not communist, not socialist, not capitalist. It's neither this, it's neither that. It's something completely unique, with its unique system. And its dustur, its constitution, is the Quran. Its dustur is the Quran. And everywhere you find in the world, in different formats, they are trying to destroy the words of the Quran. Say that they're not applicable now. They're not relevant for this period of time. They don't apply now. The people are not ready for it. And all sorts of things like this. But in fact, the Quran, لِكُلِّ زَمَانٍ وَمَكَانٍ. The Quran and this deen is for every place and for every time. And as I said, they try to destroy the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from their mouths, but every time they try to do so. And this is again part of the miracle of the Quran. Look, brothers, my own family claims descendants from the Mongols, the greatest destroyers of Islam. They were the greatest destroyers of Islam after the Islamic world had risen to its zenith, to its highest power. Genghis Khan, his sons and his grandsons laid to waste the entire Muslim ummah almost, and were knocking on the door, young brothers. If you look at the maps, the Battle of Ain Jalut, they were at the north. If they were not stopped there by a slave army of Muslims, they would have entered Mecca and Medina. They'd taken everywhere else. Baghdad had fallen. They wrapped up the Khalif of the Muslims in a carpet of the masjid, and they trampled on him with the horses. They turned the masajid into stables. Genghis Khan got up into the pulpit of the masjid, the minbar, and he gave them a khutbah, saying that I am the wrath of your God, come to you because you've abandoned your old ways and that you have chased the life, the worldly life. Genghis Khan, the great mulhid, the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, chastising the Muslims with words that were true. They were knocking on our doors, and they would have come and changed Islam forever. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected it. In fact, He protected it in ways you couldn't imagine. Within 100 years, the Mongols of the White Horde and the Golden Horde became Muslims. The word Urdu, by the way, is still used in these regions. The word Urdu doesn't mean language. The word Urdu means military garrison. The word Urdu, the word horde, H-O-R-D-E, comes from the word Urdu, which means a military group of people. And that's why they talk about the Mongol hordes. The word Urdu was in fact for an army to bring together the Persians, the Arabic speakers, and the Turkish speakers, and the Hindi speakers, for them to have, and they called it a language so that they could all speak. But it wasn't about that, it was a military designation. All of these people became Muslims. And we are their descendants today. The great Mughals, the Mongols, and the great Moors of India and so forth, are all their descendants. So they wish to destroy Islam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yutimmu nurihi, maintains His light. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ, even though the pagans detested. This was the greatness, this is the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the miracle of Islam, of which we are descendants and we are around to this day. SubhanAllah, brothers and sisters. This is something quite unique in history, quite unique in the social structure and development of humankind. Normally, it's the loser. The one who loses, he loses everything. All of those regions there, all of those regions. You had brothers, even in Guantanamo, from Turkestan, from Tajikistan, from Uzbekistan, from Kyrgyzstan, from Chechnya, from Azerbaijan, from Dagestan, from Ingushetia, all of these regions. They're all Muslims. And even after the yoke of communism was on their heads for 70, 80 odd years, they all came back to the deen. Recently I went to Syria and saw there people from all the stands come there to help their brothers. Surprised. Somebody from Kazakhstan has come here to Syria to help them. Somebody from Uzbekistan, somebody from countries I didn't even know existed, like in Ingushetia, have come to help these people. Why? And this unity of Islam, unity through the Quran, is the one message that has remained with us and has kept the Ummah together, at least in heart, at least united through the reading and the understanding of the Quran. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings back that unity and that love and that muhabba again once more. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma alif bayna qulubi al-mu'minin, Allahumma alif bayna qulubi al-mu'minin, Allahumma alif bayna qulubi al-mu'minin, Allahumma a'izz al-Islam wal-Muslimin, wa dhill al-shirk wal-kafr wa a'dat al-din, innaka al-waliyyu ala dhalika wa qadir alayhi. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The other thing I wanted to quickly talk to you about was the work of caged prisoners and what we have been doing for the past 10 years now. We've been in operation 10 years. Caged prisoners was fighting for me while I was still in Guantanamo. I came out after that in 2005 and joined the organization shortly. And the reason why I did that is because I couldn't watch and maintain my freedom, knowing my brothers were still held in those places, and in fact even some sisters, like Hafiz Siddiqui and others. So we began campaigning, we began fighting, we began lobbying, we began exposing and documenting all of the issues that concern the Muslims, in particular in the war on terror, and showing to the Muslims in this country and elsewhere that you can still hold on to your faith. You can stay within the parameters of the law, but you can fight the law. You can challenge. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to ascribe to man the attributes of Allah in that they are all-knowing and all-seeing and all-encompassing. You don't have to be worried that every move you make is being watched by the intelligence services, because we are watching them right back, knowing that Allah is watching us all. That has been our job. We have tried to empower the Muslims, take away and remove from their hearts the fear of human beings, and say to them that you are able to, through first of all your own faith and exercising and establishing your own identity, through making alliances with those non-Muslims who have understood what is taking place, through looking at experiences of other groups of people, like the black community, like the Irish community and others, and saying that we take from the experience of those people and we apply it to our very unique situation, and we try to make ourselves stronger as a result. We ask and find that some of our closest supporters are sisters, because they are the ones whose husbands it is that have been affected directly as a result of anti-terror legislation, as a result of places like Guantanamo, the secret detention sites, and even recently our work has taken us to Tunisia, to Libya, to Egypt, and to Syria, where we have found that the British and the American governments have been working in hand with the governments of these places before the revolutions, and they were openly and handing people, renditioning people over to these places, knowing they would be tortured. We've held the British government to account here. We have sat in front of many people and explained to them very, very clearly the types of abuses that are constantly being carried out against Muslims, either whether it's abuses of process or the abuse of the body. And we ask the Muslim community here is that if you can't stand up for your own brothers and sisters in your own community, then first of all we say that's shameful. You shouldn't be able to. But secondly, we say that empower us to do so. Help us to do so. There are many organizations collecting for many different causes, and all are good, all are worthy, all deserve. But if something is not being done, then the sin is upon the neck of all, especially something like freeing the prisoner. The Prophet ﷺ said, عُودُ الْمَرْضَى وَأَطِمُ الْجَائِعِ وَفُكُّ الْأَعَانِ. Now we know visiting the sick is something we should do. أَطِمُ الْجَائِعِ, in this Ramadan, you know, especially feeding the sick, the hungry, is something you should do. But فُكُّ الْأَعَانِ, free the prisoner, who wants to talk about that? It's the same hadith. It's the same hadith. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the categories of the zakat, He mentions وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, and those whose necks have not been freed. In the past that used to be slaves. There is no more slavery in the way they used to be in the past. But there are prisoners. And the ulama today have said that this is in relation to the prisons today, to try to free the prisoners. And freeing the prisoners is something that the ulama of the past have all agreed. It is extremely important. It is a fard kifaya. Meaning, if some of you, enough of you, the kifaya, are doing it, then the sin of the neck of everybody else is absolved. But if nobody is doing it, you are all sinful. Everybody is sinful. So in a sense, cage prisoners and the other organizations working with us, helping households under great stress, who take care of family visits and the practical matters on a day-to-day level of families who've been affected by anti-terror legislation and measures. This is helping to remove off your necks a fard kifaya. If you don't do it, I believe you are sinful if nobody is doing it. Freeing the prisoners, the Muslim prisoners, who after all, in the light of what's taking place, though we don't have to say we agree with any of the acts of violence perpetrated by anyone in the name of whatever it is, what we can say that these are still our brothers in varying situations. And laws that have been passed today, just 6 years ago, 7 years ago, or 10 years ago, when Britain was supporting the Mujahideen in Afghanistan fighting the Soviets, it was not illegal. So they've changed the laws, as man-made laws generally change. And this change, we have to also now change with it. So whereas in the past it was okay to say those people who are fighting against occupation and oppression, our people should be supported. If you say today you fall foul of anti-terror legislation, it doesn't make that legislation right. It doesn't make the thought process that made that legislation right. But it places us in a very precarious situation. So what we say simply is that at least we should try to challenge these laws and challenge the Islamophobia, the anti-Muslim propaganda that exists as a result of these laws, that have found not just radicalization taking place because people are fighting abroad and invading our countries, but right here in this country, there are a series of legislations the likes of which they never even implemented at the height of the IRA campaign, which made Muslim quote-unquote terrorism look relatively tame. So it's something that is part of our community. We need to learn to empower one another. And the way to do this is that if you can't do it yourself, assist and empower those who are. And inshallah, you will see that your brothers and sisters will be doing everything they can to bring forth the cases of the innocent Muslim prisoners, whether they're in Guantanamo or elsewhere, or those even held here, extradited to places like the US, like Barbara Ahmed, like Abu Qatada, and all these people that you'll find have been abused so terribly that you would not have imagined that this could have happened in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, the country that has exported the idea of habeas corpus as a civilizing factor to the rest of the world. That no person, habeas corpus means the right